In JavaScript, dates are one of the most annoying things you can use. Uh, the reason for that is not specific to JavaScript, as many programming languages have frustrating date APIs. But today I'm going to try my best to explain the date API in JavaScript in a way that is simple to understand, yet gives you a low level understanding of the date. So the first thing we want to look at is the epoch, or however you want to pronounce it. What is this? First of all, let's just console.log new dates. Actually, it's date.parse, right? And inside date.parse, we're gonna talk more about the date.parse later. Inside the date.parse, let's pass 0 and let's run node main.js, right? Now we get this number, this value, and now let's pass in 1970 10 10 sorry 0 1 0 1. Then let's do the same, we get 0. So in JavaScript, dates are classified or are time-stamped based on the epoch or epoch, or how you want to say it. So this timestamps come from this number. In 1970, in the new year of 1970, the first month, the first date, that's start when the JavaScript data API starts counting. So if we pass in the current day, for example, if you say 2024, the say 12s and sorry, okay, if we say 9 and 12s, we get this number. So from the start of 1970 until now, this amount of milliseconds have passed. This, as you can see, a very large number, and it's counting the milliseconds that have passed from the start of the epoch to today. So this is where the JavaScript date gets is uh, base. So let's talk more about the date class. If we just console.log creating a new date, a date is, by the way, a class. So if we do that and paste it, we get this string right here. So this is a date. This is what a date is in JavaScript. It's a collection of different values, which includes a year, a month, a day, an hour, minute, seconds, milliseconds, time zone. So those are the components. And a date is just a property, or sorry, a class. In this case, we're creating a new date object. Date is an object that has these values for us to manipulate and use in our application. So simple enough, the date class. Let's move on. So what is this random seeming string right here? So this is how the date is structured in JavaScript. If we console log it again, you can see here we have 2024, which is the year here. Okay, so the first four parts are year, the second two parts are month, separated by a hyphen, right? A hyphen and a month, 2 months. We're not going to say 9, we're going to say 09, because it's months and not months. The third part is a date, again separated by a hyphen here, and this part is might seem weird, the T might seem weird, but it's very simple. It's just an indicator of time, meaning we are separating the date from the time. Okay, so uh, by saying this, we are going to the time, and the first part is the hour, and with a colon. The second part is a minute, and both with a two letter string. So it's 16 and 51. If even if it was the hour, if it was 9, it will not say 9, it will say 09. Okay, as we said here. Then with a colon, there's ss, which is the second value, second. So after that, we uh, show here we have a dot, a period, and after that we have three values. Here it was 825, but before that was 856, and this value is the millisecond value, which if you remember, we were manipulating that using the epoch, right? We were talking about that. So that is the millisecond value. The final part is the Z. So as you can see, the Z is written as Z here. Z, what actually it means, the local time or the time zone. Z is an indicator of the time zone. Now, when we create a new date, we can pass it a time zone, a specific time zone that we want the date to be for. But if we don't, it will just be Z. Z means the default time zone, which is the UTC. Okay, you might be familiar with the UTC. So Z indicates UTC, which is a sort of an universal time zone. So this is the date format. Next are the date methods. So we're gonna speak a bit about some methods in the date. So I would like to create here an object const date equals new date. Now this is the normal date we've been working on so far. So this date has a couple of objects. The first is the parse, right? So method. Okay, let's talk about the methods first. So it's date.parse. So a date.parse is just a method that provides milliseconds. Okay, we pass it some value. For example, we can say 2020 tens minus tens day. Okay, some value. And when we run it, it gives us a millisecond. So it parses our date using a millisecond. We already spoke about the epoch, which is the start of the millisecond. So it starts from 1970, from the New Year's, the first day of 1970, and it starts counting from there. So this is the millisecond of this date from the epoch. This is the date.parse. Another value we have is the date.now, which is the number of milliseconds passed from the epoch up till this time, this current time. In other programming languages, you might know it as instance or date.instance, new instance, but in JavaScript it is date.new. So as you can see, there is another one, which is the date.utc. If we run this, we get not a number because this expects us uh, to provide some value in the bracket. So the date does now just gives us the value. Here we have to pass in the value. If we open and close brackets, the VS Code intelligence gives us the required values, which are the year, the months, and the date. So this is basically the same as saying date, but the main difference is that we pass in a UTC, uh, which makes it for the universal time, okay? And this is basically this is using the UTC itself because we can see Z. So if you pass in a UTC, you'll not see Z. Instead, you're going to see a different UTC here, which a different time zone here. So it's just working with time zones. The other part is the creation of dates. So there are many ways we can create dates. Uh, the first part we already saw it here. If we console.log date, we get this value here. This is the simplest way of creating a date. Just say date, new date. But there are also many ways we can go on doing that process. There are many ways we can create a date. We can pass in the whole string. We can say 2024 09 12 then t. Uh, let me just copy this, just paste it here. and we get the same dates that we had here. So if we pass in a value here, we are gonna get the date value. The object will be the date representing the value you've passed. But if not, it's just the same as saying date.now. It will give us the current date. But instead of saying uh, instead of just giving us the current date, it will give us the milliseconds. So that's the difference. Mm, so there is another way of creating dates, that is passing in some values. Uh, you can say 20, 2024, 12, 12. And if we save that, we get this value. So 2025, 01, 11. So it's just if we pass in the year, the minutes, the seconds, individually, we can get this. Mm, let's put this in, and we can even go on and say hours. Like we could say 22 minutes, 20 seconds. We can say 40 milliseconds, 999. So we can pass in all these values, and if we now run, we get this value for the date we just passed in. So this is, I think, a better and easier way of creating dates. There are actually some other ways of creating dates, uh, like uh, like passing readable string, like say December 12th, 2024. But I think that's not majorly supported, and it's not a good idea to use it. You can see it might give out the value. It will work sometimes, but the browser support, I think, for this method is not the best. So I would not recommend using this. So what's next? Next up is date formatting. Okay, so as always, let's just clear here, and we've talked about the formatting of a date. We said year, 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 then month, month, then date, date, t, hour, and so on. We've talked about that, but that's most of the time that's not the best way you can format your dates. For example, this might be good enough if you're storing it in a database. Even then, I think it's better if you could use a millisecond value, a timestamp. But uh, if you want to parse your dates in ways, you can do it in different ways. So the first way is to date string, and this will just eliminate the time part and only give you the date. So Tuesday, September 12th, 2024. The other one is to time string, and that does the opposite. It will eliminate the date part and only give you the time. So it's 20:01:35 GMT East African time for me. Um, there is also to ISO string. The ISO string is the string we just seen above, but the difference is if we say type of, we get string. So type of the ISO date string is a string, uh, but type of the date itself is an object. So that's the main difference there. You can also say to JSON, and you get almost practically the same value. Uh, so you can say to local. Okay, let's talk about the locals, right? To local string. If we say this, it will provide this kind of format. What this format is it is a format which will eliminate the use of uh, a time zone. Okay, if we say local, it means the time zone of in which we are currently active. So that is African time for me. So if we say local, the system already knows to use the current time zone of the current user, of the current PC's user, right? It will make it a more readable format. And I think this is the better format, the best format we can get. But again, you can do two local date string, and it will only give you the date of the local from the local time string, that is. Or you can say two local time string, and it will do the opposite. Again, it will only give you the time. So those are, I think, the most major ways of using the date formatting. The last part is components of a date. So uh, as we talked about, we said a date has many components, right? It has a year, a minute, an hour, many parts. Uh, so how can we get each component? If we, maybe for one example, you only wanted the year, we can say get and follow that by year. Okay, let's get full year. Seem to forget. Uh, and we get 2024 as a number, by the way. If we instead write get date, we get 12 because today is 12th of September. We can write get months, and we get 8 because September is by the way. Okay, so for example, if we pass in here 2024 0101, and we say get months, we say 0, right? That's because uh, this uses zero-based indexing. So when we say get months, it will get the ninth month, which is September. But because JavaScript uses zero-based indexing, it will actually say 8. That's the reason we saw 8 here. Okay. Uh, and so on. You can say get hours, which will give it 20. This follows the 24-hour format, and we can do whatever you want and get every component you want. So as you can see, the date object in JavaScript is a bit complicated. It's not the most beginner friendly API in JavaScript. Uh, in any programming language, it's a hard thing to grasp. So this is one video is not enough, I think. So I'm going to create another video talking about the date string, which goes more in depth about the hour cycle, like 24-hour, 12-hour, date manipulation, date adding dates, subtracting dates, stuff like that. Uh, before I actually finish this video, I would like to share with you something. So the reason I'm doing this is because I was lately creating a website, kind of silly website in the premise, but it's just a website to see which countries are currently sleeping and which are awake. So this uses heavily, it uses the data API in JavaScript. So while building this, I really had a tough time with JavaScript. So I just wanted to make this video explaining what the data API actually can do and what it can't do, uh, and maybe help you avoid the pitfalls I got in. You can use this app if you're interested in this app. By the way, you can go check it out in localnap.vercel.app. We're actually launching tomorrow on product hunt, so uh, I would love your support. I'm actually gonna post about the lunchtime on my Twitter, so I'll leave my handle down in the description. You can follow me there. So thanks for watching. I hope you really gained something from this video, and then until the next time, goodbye.